today, the first part of crowdfunding is progressive clapping. So here, it's kind of like the sarcastic, and we find the vibe, a little more, a little faster. Good, now steadily faster. There you go. Keep going, a little more, and then that's it. Oh! And stop. Whew. Si se puede. Sí, gracias. Hoy presentación en inglés, pero necesitas translación. Visitar www.googletranslate.com. Well, we have a small crowd, but we have a lot of great information, so I'm excited for you, and we will have other people coming in soon. Today's all about crowdfunding. And before we introduce our guests, so they have an idea of what is going on with you, I want you to get one hand free. So if you're typing on a phone, you can use that hand, maybe put the other one ready to go. Raise your hand if you actively are involved in a crowdfunding campaign.
Right this second?
Right this second. If you are actively involved, like you have a campaign like the Tampon Tribe or something that's going, okay? Raise your hand if you have ever been involved with a crowdfunding campaign. Okay, put your hands down. Raise your hand if you are going to soon launch a crowdfunding campaign. It's like everybody's raising all their hands. So they've done it, they're going to do it, and they've done it in the past. I love it. Today, my goal as a moderator is to get the most beneficial information from these guys into your heads. And based on the fact that a lot of you already know about crowdfunding, we've got a good start, but we want to get meta, we want to get deep, and we want to find some specific things that'll make your crowdfunding campaign a success. I would like to start to have my panelists introduce themselves because they can do it way better than I can. Not a progressive clap, but a golf clap at this point for our first speaker. Just a golf. It's a little real light. Good. How about you, sir? Here we go.
So I'm Adam Goyer. I am with Blackbox, which is a marketing agency focused on crowdfunding. We work both on the rewards crowdfunding side and on the equity crowdfunding side. And I've been doing that for a few years now. Pretty excited about it. We really specialize in taking brand and narrative and applying it through marketing strategy to have an effective crowdfunding campaign.
My name is Justin Giddings. I am the owner of the company The Kickstarter Guy at thekickstarterguy.com. I am a coach and consultant primarily, although I'm starting to do agency type work. So one-stop shop kind of place for crowdfunding campaigns. As a coach, I've primarily dealt with smaller projects, the $20,000 to $50,000 short films and web series, and books by someone from Topeka, and yeah, I've worked on about 60 campaigns, raised over $2 million with a 97% success rate.
Wow, we don't have to golf clap for that. We can do a regular clap. That's fine. And just because we all have selfish hats on, that means you all are wearing a hat with things that you want. I want to make sure that you realize the selfish hats here as well. And one easy selfish hat is love online, because there's millions of people out there that would love to be here. So if you are on social media, we'd like you to share your support. And I want to know from you guys your favorite media that you like to engage on, and then how people can find you, so that throughout, when people are using their phones, you know that it's not paparazzi, they're just sharing the love. For me, it's Twitter, and I'm at Ryan Foland, so just added Ryan to this. And that's where I live and tweet. How about you, sir?
Twitter at Adam Goyer.
Twitter at Justin Giddings, and then also Facebook.com/thekickstarterguy.
And our final panelist here, who is coming in to save the day, so we round it out, because a panel is not a panel with two people. We are now at a panel with three people.
Yeah.
Hi guys, my name is Dustin Dye. I work with Expert Dojo. It's an academy for entrepreneurs. We've done about 6 crowdfunding campaigns this year. And I've had more of an active creative role during that whole process. So yeah, that's kind of what I've done.
All right.
And you can find me at facebook.com/expertdojo, and Instagram is at @expert_dojo. Dustin, D-U-S-T-I-N. Dye, D-Y-E.
We actually have an invisible placard there. You just can't see it, so thank you for asking.
It's like the emperor's.
It's just a little dirty.
Yeah, he's the emperor who has no clothes on. All right, let's get into this. Crowdfunding has been around for a while, but it's still infant in some respects. Tell us why crowdfunding is here to stay in a general sense, because I think some people maybe sat back and was like, this is going to kind of work and not, and maybe there's these extreme cases that work and then everybody chases after that. But so many people are in that $20,000 to $40,000 zone phase. So what is the longevity of this as a crowdfunding, as a platform to raise funds?
We had someone come into our office the other day, and they're like, so what is this rewards crowdfunding thing? And it was like, where have you been?
Right.
You know,
How do you
it's
not
just
know
like,
that?
how did you end up getting all the way to Santa Monica and you don't know what rewards crowdfunding is? So Indiegogo is like a $1 billion a year company now.
Yeah.
Kickstarter is a little bit larger. It's a pretty sizable chunk of change between them. The thing about crowdfunding is it's a product launch where you're getting someone to kind of pay for the product and the marketing and everything like up front. So it totally lowers the risk profile of launching a product. You're like, hey, I want to launch a new integrated speaker system for Teslas. I wonder if there's a market for that. So you go, you see all your speaker company, like you're going to position over sideways into this new market. You could get your customers and engage your potential client base to pay the fit, for your engineering costs or whatever. So that's why like real companies that have real cash flow engage in crowdfunding to launch new products. It engages their customers, it builds their brand. All of the goals of an organization are in alignment with this kind of product launch that we call a crowdfund.
Yeah, and to build on that, that's all 100%. The second part of it too is sort of an educational component. There is no better marketing boot camp than running a crowdfunding campaign. Particularly if you do hire somebody to help or somebody to consult or even just talk to your friends who've been through it. The skills that come out of that, as an example, because again, I tend to work with like filmmakers raising $20K. They don't have budgets for agencies. One film, for example, was a $500,000. That's not what they raised. They raised finishing funds, but it was like a $500,000 horror film. But then it was sold out on Amazon for the first 3 weeks it was there, and was in the top 100 horror films on Amazon because all the marketing techniques that they learned from doing the campaign and audience engagement and brand awareness and all that stuff you were talking about. That keeps happening in other aspects of the business when you launch a trailer or when you sell something on Amazon or a DVD on Amazon, or take the product that you raised money for on crowdfunding and then put it on Amazon in Seller Central and all that kind of stuff. So it's all that and also an educational component that most of us paid for, I guess, in college or in life, that you get paid. You get paid to do it and learn it and learn, trial by fire.
Yeah, so, kind of from an entrepreneurial perspective, especially in the early stage where most of these people will do the rewards-based crowdfunding campaigns, it's one of the perfect market validations. Simply, it's all game. So, if you can prove that your product should exist by having a crowd of people, it's going to start with your friends and family. I think the first 33% that you need to raise in like 48 hours needs to be friends and family. Raise that, or your success, like matrix, kind of goes to shit. But then if you can do that, you prove to like later stage investors and stuff along the line that not only can you on your point, like prove that in a month you can hustle and create this marketing plan and hit your goals and show the investor that like a milestone objective is totally possible with this person, but also that there are people outside the friends and family that are willing to contribute to your cause. So market validation, it's great for, and just proving that you can do it.
So basically, if you don't know about crowdfunding and rewards programs to get people involved with your project, you're living under a rock. So now's time to come out of that rock. Secondly, it's an amazing trial by fire. The best way to learn something is to do it, and crowdfunding gives you a potpourri of just about everything you need to do to launch a real product or concept, but it's a platform. And then there's a market validation concept. What I'd like to know from you, because I've heard it and I've seen it, and people might even believe it, it's a chance for absolute public failure.
Yes.
It is a crazy scarlet letter, and that's maybe a big elephant in the room. It's like, yes, go do it. People run into it, and then they realize it is absolutely a challenge to do this. It is a full-time job to get people. You feel like the little boy who cried wolf after about 3 days, and then you don't know what else to tweet, and then you cry. So how do you deal with that from a motivational standpoint to encourage people to go with this trial by fire, but knowing that people will be like, it didn't work, or at least that's how you feel. So how is that cultural element when it comes to it?
Maybe it would be helpful if we kind of laid out the foundation of what a crowdfunding timeline is.
I would love to do that. Let's do that. And I was assuming people had a bit of a timeline, but let's go into my first question, which is explain the timeline of a crowdfunding. No, I'm just
because it's if you go through the structural components of it, well, kind of that how not to fall flat on your face will emerge kind of organically.
Okay, but maybe before we dive into that, just a comment on, because we even had some hoots and hollers, how important is that failure component? Because it is kind of a scarlet letter. So if we talk on that as a fear factor, and then we can go in and break down the process and how to have the least chance of that failure.
Yeah, I mean, part of business is mastering your own fears. And part of the way to fundamentally all fear is kind of a precursor to the fear of death. So if, fear of business failure, you fail enough in business, you'll eventually die. So the way to not fail is to prepare. Go out, hey, winter is coming, I should go get some food and put some berries. Hey, I got this bowl of berries, and I can live another month, right?
Gotcha.
Hey, I called the PR agency and I have all of my press bookings booked out for the first 48 hours of this crowdfunding campaign. I can live another day.
So what you're saying is, yes, there's this failure component, which is a very obvious and sort of stays on the web, but that should be motivation for you to take the correct steps and learn the right information to reduce that failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely that. There's so much that you can do to avoid failure, truthfully. And it's usually working with a professional, quite frankly, in some capacity, just because most of us have gone through it dozens and dozens of times.
My resume actually says I've failed more than most people.
Yeah.
So that's right in there.
Yeah, and the other piece of failure that I always tell potential clients is obviously there's no guarantees. I don't think anybody's naive enough here to think that. But I'd rather you fail with a crowdfunding campaign and learn from that experience than go raise, in my world in filmmaking, $5 to $10 to $20 million, an equity raise for your film, and then realize you have no idea what the heck you're doing and you don't know how to get an audience and all that kind of stuff. Same thing with the product. You can get deep in on prototyping and product creation and have all the websites and have all the people and probably needed a VC raise just to get to that retail space. Or you can spend a tiny fraction of that and find out if people care at all about the thing that you've created. And that is such an inexpensive lesson that most of us in business or in film, I'd much rather fail a bunch of times and learn that with, $20,000 on the line for a product launch, maybe $5,000 on the line for a small film or something, than, as I mentioned, being millions of dollars deep on something and then discovering you're out of your element. You just don't have the experience.
Polling the audience really quick. Raise your hand. This is a safe environment. Raise your hand if you have not gone forward with a crowdfunding campaign because of this fear of failure. Raise your hand. Yes, no? All right. Congratulations, because by the end of today, when I ask that question, you will not raise your hand, because these guys have the information to reduce that failure. And even if you think you still might fail, what they just said should resonate, because even though it's a public failure, you learn from that failure. That means the product maybe wasn't correct, or you could have an iteration and you can use that feedback. Is there a stigma to run a crowdfunding campaign that fails, go back to the books and then relaunch it? Is that something that people do?
Oh,
Absolutely.
Sure. Coolest Cooler. Have you guys heard of Coolest Cooler? The most fun. Now, poor you, backer. There's a whole back end to this story of disaster of them not being able to deliver, and a bunch of stuff we'll pretend never happened for my ability to make a point right now. And that is that they went to raise money the first time around, failed miserably. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. Regrouped, learned from that failure, and then they have the largest Kickstarter raise in history.
And it's a cool cooler that basically has everything that you would want when you go to the beach.
Right. That they priced at 50% of what they could deliver.
So even if you fail on the first crowdfunding temp, which you learn as an entrepreneur. You also learn about the product and the business in order to then recreate another campaign that's more successful. So have no fear that it's a public failure. And I talk to people, and that's a big stopping point. So if we can early on in this panel get everybody to realize that it's not that bad, I will then have somebody in a teal shirt ask a question. Yes, sir.
So I like what you sort of started to ask and didn't really finish it. Can you guys articulate the 3 or 4 must-dos for success and 3 or 4 must
Yeah.
better not do?
So before we do that, let's go through the timeline first. I think the timeline will help us to establish these different, before you even start, when you start, while you're going, and then even after the fact, so you don't end up with this a product that you can't deliver. And then once we have those, I think it'd be a good structure to do the 3 things to do and the 3 things not to do for each section, and you now will have a roadmap. Does that sound good?
Can we do the timeline now then?
That's what we're going to do right now, yes. So let's go through the timeline. Can we break them up into tangible stages?
Yeah.
And then we'll go back and we'll find the 3 things to do and then not do for each stage. And then you guys will take it and blog about it, and then we'll share the information with the world. Timeline.
The first thing you should do is go onto timferriss.com and search for like crowdfunding. Get his template. He's got a whole like template, like check boxes with the timeline, everything should do. Second, what is it?
Ferri.
He wrote the 4-Hour Work Week, and I think the blog is the 4-Hour Work Week blog.
Yeah.
So you could Google that and crowdfunding, and this thing is still relevant.
It really is. Yeah, it's still good.
Yeah, just
It's in his
Google
blog,
Tim
yeah.
Ferriss crowdfunding template,
Yeah.
and Google will find you,
Yeah.
bring you there.
The second step is to call me or him.
And what's your phone number?
Yeah, right. Black Box with a K, BLAK, box.com. So, timelines. The fundamentals of crowdfunding, you've got basically the prep stage, which is 60 to 90 days before you launch. So a guy walked into our office earlier this week, and he goes, "All right, I have a big budget from my manager in Korea to launch a campaign. We go live on November 1st. What do we do?" Don't call us. You can launch after CES if you want to work with us, which is like January. There's no way I'm launching a campaign on November 1st. Won't happen. Can't pay me enough money to do it.
So are there certain reasons why November 1st, or is it just the fact that it's a very close amount of time?
It's way too close.
Gotcha.
And also we learned last year that unless we have a very compelling reason, we don't launch into Christmas.
Write that down.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, most of the audience on an Indiegogo or Kickstarter campaign is not ultra wealthy, right? It's not like accredited investors. It's the so that means that they have kids and Christmas and all these expenses around travel and vacations. Their liquid income for December is just lower. And so unless you can deliver your product guaranteed without a doubt by Christmas Eve or the beginning of Hanukkah, don't launch. If it's a marketing campaign and you already have a product, maybe. But if you're just so I would say that.
So stage 1 is prep, and that's 60 to 90 days before you even launch.
Absolutely.
All right. What's the second step? Second phase in the timeline.
If you just launching the thing, that's generally about 30 days of a campaign. There's a lot of statistics that go into that. Sometimes your gadgets can get away with longer stuff, up to 60 days. Actually, there's some statistics coming out now that they can do those ultra long campaigns. Indiegogo has something awesome, which is they allow you to extend a campaign now, which is fabulous. So you can set kind of the urgency of a 30-day campaign, and if everything's going dandy or not and you want that extra week or two, you can extend the campaign that way. And this is where all of your prep is make or break, because I always talk about it in film. Sorry, I'm a filmmaker, and that's the way I think. So,
this is digital Hollywood, so it's okay.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I forgot what panel I was on. Okay, so you've got your pre-production period, right? And then you've got your project. So if you show up on day one of your project and you have, beautiful anamorphic lenses from the 70s and a visionary director and an incredible script and actors out the wazoo, but somebody failed to do pre-production, you're dead by lunch. When catering doesn't show up and the crew flips union and your actors walk because they don't have the right size trailer, it falls apart immediately. So you can have all the great creative stuff. And the translation that I make for that is that, like, with the campaign, it used to be that having a cool pitch video and cool rewards and a cool page was enough. But the truth is that's your ticket to entry now. You better have that, or don't crowdfund.
Yeah.
And you can make those really great. There's plenty of information online, lots of blogs that, top 10. I think Video Pixie has a really cool post about great Kickstarter videos. Once you have that, that's fabulous. Now you're in the game. And when you're in the game, it is a guerrilla marketing campaign where you have to reach tens, usually hundreds of thousands of people. And your friends and family and the network that you have access to is going to be your social echo chamber. They're going to be the megaphone that help get your message out beyond your 1,000 Facebook friends and 500 email contacts. Because we're talking about numbers of like 5% of 5%. At least in films, I don't know what it is too much with gadgets. I've only started my first few. But with films, we're only talking about a 5% conversion rate on Kickstarter. So 5 people out of every 100 that come and look at your video and whatnot are going to give you money at $70 a pop, generally speaking, although that number's going down, so it's even harder now. So if you got to raise 50,000, it's something like 400,000 people that you have to have reach to get just a small percentage of them to click on the links, to get an even smaller percentage of those link clickers to pull out their wallet and give you money. So it is a guerrilla marketing campaign that most people, it bowls them over because they think that their awesome project or their really cool actors are going to carry the project, and it's not. It's just not. So yeah, that's production.
It sounds like you really have the pre-production and then the actual showtime.
Yep.
But within the showtime, would you say that we can further divide, as in the crucial first few moments?
Oh, sure.
Then there's this dead zone in the middle, and then how do you close it strong? So Dustin, would you say that that's a good analysis? Because you've got to come out hot, but then everybody sort of loses steam in the middle. How do you there's that middle area.
I mean, it's a constant hustle. There's no point during any crowdfunding campaign that I've been a part of that they're not working like nonstop doing it. I mean, it's a scary thing. Like, they're risking, their dream or their passion to make something come to life. So yeah, we take about 60 days, 2 months before, just preparing, like, who's, generating lists, creating the videos, how are we going to take this? And then during the campaign, like, we're doing one for Tampon Tribe right now, which is an organic subscription tampon service. Makes a lot of sense. But during the launch, like the day of like the launch of their campaign, we decided to find the most in LA, the most influential people that would have some kind of impact on her product. And it would use it. So we reached out to the Comedy Store, and we got some of the best women comedians at the Comedy Store to come to our launch party at Expert Dojo, where we had Ryan dress up as a tampon and MC the whole thing. And it was just a fun night. We had about 200 people show up. It was great, but it just started generating a lot of hype for this launch and fun thing. Ryan tweeted it out, the influencers tweeted out, and we just, you just constantly have to be hustling and generating hype around it. Even when, during the middle of it, which it gets, like, oh, no one's bought today, what are we doing? Sales aren't doing as well. This was the plan's going to shit. Like, how are we going to do this? And just, like, you have to just keep going and keep doing it. Like, just push forward.
The first 48 hours to, like, first 3 days are super important. You want to have a third of your money basically pre-committed to come in for those first few days. One of the reasons for that is a lot of blogs and a lot of press actually have policies that they won't promote any side of campaign that doesn't look like it's got that.
The websites themselves
makes
as well,
them look
right?
bad, right?
Yeah.
Indiegogo and Kickstarter too won't like put you on their trending page or promote you to their own audience, which is massive, unless you hit those marks.
Yeah. So
Know that in advance. How do we know
they know in the first 48 hours when all the people that you have talked to are waiting for the plug to pull, and then everybody jumps in.
You as a company need to have, an Excel spreadsheet with who you believe will come in at those amounts, and then hold them to account to make sure they do it, and then those transactions will actually post, and that will start kind of your middle phase. You'll get that bump when you get the Indiegogo in the next line of press, and then hopefully get up 50%, something like that. Then you're going to hit kind of a plateau, maybe 70%. You're going to hit a plateau for the middle of the campaign. That's where you want to send out your updates, your email updates. You want to have some follow-along blog posts and some follow-along media coverage in the middle there, and then you'll get another bump at the end as kind of there's a sense of urgency that comes in. You want to stage out updates all the way through your campaign, probably weekly updates. You want to have a social media schedule, daily schedule, 3 posts a day, all your social channels. Make sure you preload your social engagement beforehand. Like some clients, we had a client had 100,000 followers, but they hadn't posted in a year. We tried to start putting posts out when before they launched. It was going out to 7 people because the algorithms that manage reach thought it was a dead channel. So even if you start putting paid advertisement into that, it doesn't move the thing.
Okay, here's where the rubber meets the road. Listening to this time frame, I have created this graph, which I think you should all do. I'm a graph person. So if you look at it, you have the pre-production box, and then you have the game time in 3 different boxes. We have the pre-production, you have the first 48 hours, just like the TV show. It's very important. First 48. Thank you. And then secondly, you have this plateau area where we don't know what to do because there is a plateau. You're hustling, but there is a plateau. And then thirdly, this is the final push. How do you create the urgency? So we're going to go down the panel, and if you would draw this box, here's a happy face and a sad face. For each one of these boxes, we're going to get the 3 tips to do and the 3 tips not to do, and this will go to battle with Tim Ferriss for his template. All right? Does that sound like a plan, everyone? Yeah. Now, if there's something, thank you, if there's something within the box you have a question of, feel free to ask, but we're not going to get distracted from this. This is the roadmap. So starting at the pre-phase, we can collectively talk together. Maybe we each suggest your top suggestion. We can have an internal argument, punch each other a few times, and then say, okay, guys, here are the top 3 things to do, and then we'll do that with not to do.
Let's go right to the punching.
I need a copy of this video so I can send it to my copywriter to turn it into a blog post.
This is great. Okay.
You guys are getting stuff we charge a lot for.
I know, right?
So,
everybody, can we get a basket and pass the basket around?
Pass the hat.
That's all the good stuff.
All right, so pre-stage, 60 to 90 days beforehand, what are the top 3 things to do? And we're going to do this like lightning round.
Yeah.
You say your top, and then we'll discuss the top, and then we'll get the top of the top.
All right, I'm glad I'm going first. Take 10 campaigns that are similar to yours in nature. Figure out who the influencers were that drove those campaigns, who the blog posts were. Use reverse search, look up, whatever. Find out who posted about
Cyberstock.
it. Exactly. Research. Figure out.
How do you find influencers on those campaigns?
That's a whole nother seminar.
It's a big one.
There's a whole skill to researching this stuff and a whole list of tools and stuff. So research who the influencers were, and then research who the investors were, and build a media campaign or a plan of action to address and engage those individuals.
All right, so step number 1 is Cyberstock 10 other similar campaigns. And to answer your question, Mr. Teal, one easy way would be to find the hashtag that is associated with that campaign and search each platform for that within a specified search. And then if it's an influencer and Charlie Pluth has used it and you can see the transaction on that tweet, that would indicate that they're one of those supporters. People who are evangelists of different campaigns, I did dress up in a life-size tampon. I'm an evangelist of the Tampon Tribe, and you can find that searching hashtag Tampon Tribe, and then you'd be able to identify me as one person. That's a very basic line that I would say you could do. So number 1 is Cyberstock, and it's write it in pencil because we're not done fighting yet. Number 2.
Assemble a team. So be very cognizant about the team members that you're going to need to have. So some of the obvious ones are people who are just doing pieces of the campaign. So who's going to do your video? Who's going to be your videographer? Are you going to go in a direction like a skit where you need a writer and a director and a production company? What is the budget for that? That kind of stuff. Then you're going to need to be thinking about social media as well as PR.
Wait a minute. Is that different than the first one? Because we can only...
These are the team members.
Okay, team members. Good. So in building a team,
right,
you need the video guy.
Yeah, you need somebody who's going to put together your page.
Or a woman. Hey, I'm the biggest feminist you know. I thank you for the correction. You get a person. You get a person. Yes, you get a person.
A video person. Video person.
Personas.
And so you get yourself a video person. You get yourself design people for the page. You need graphic designers. Guys, get a coach. It's so competitive out there. Find somebody. If it's not one of us, just somebody who's done it before who can help you walk through this. Consultant, campaign manager, coach, something like that, or an agency if you have the budget for it. Let's see. I've covered the page, which is perks people, social media marketing. So you need marketing people and possibly a publicist. Sometimes that's the same team member. Sometimes that's two different team members. What am I missing?
You've got a publicist, a perks person, social media, video, and then coach/manager.
Copywriting, media, like graphic assets,
right.
Paid advertising if you're going to do that.
Yeah. Putting together a budget of what you can handle in terms of paid advertising.
Do you see what I'm doing here? I'm taking this one and it's spawning off into a palm frond. Okay.
I was just at the Global Crowdfunding Convention and I heard a statistic, something like 5% of what you're trying to raise is what you should have in your ad amount. Is that
at least?
Yeah, I think he was saying was like the absolute minimum.
And that would be under the person who is in charge of the advertising in your team.
Right, exactly.
Mr. Dustin, what is your top tip? Right now we've got cyber stalking and building a badass team, although I put the badass in there.
So what we really try to do is like focus on that 33% and raise it almost before you launch. So surround yourself with the people that love you, the people that your close friends, your family, and create, like, whether you use Klaviyo and Fusionsoft, but create automated systems, email chains that hunts them down.
So Dustin, question for you. I'm going to punch you in the gut here. Okay. How is that different than cyber stalking campaigns and whatnot? Or is it because
when you're
in there
cyber stalking, you're usually stalking people you don't know. We're looking at people that are going to give you 100%. They're going to give you $100 the day you launch. So we even have had in the past where we do pre-launch parties where we have everybody come in and dedicate a sum of money when they launch, before launch, just so we can have a pool of money dedicated and already committed the day of launch.
So we're going to call this one friends and family stock. Okay. So
actually, I want to build on that too. You just gave me an idea. So this is an untested idea. I tend to be really make it clear when I'm talking about something I've done dozens of times or
when
not.
a panel member starts to write on a napkin, that's when you should start taking notes.
So in film land, I tend to deal with a lot of first-time filmmakers. They're in their mid-20s, mid-30s. They don't have all their friends or broke LA people too. And so sometimes the launch parties for them have proven a bit tough. Yeah. They rent out a place and people show up and drink the beer and then leave. One thing, what I like about a pre-launch party is there's not the intensity of I'm depending on this to have my first 30%. Mm-hmm. Secondly, creative idea that came up was maybe their ticket to entry is their pledge amount, and it is their name, phone number, email, and the pledge amount. Mm-hmm. So that when you reach out to them and call them, they have put their hand and their pen to paper and said, no, I'm good for this on launch day. It isn't a real number yet, so it's really easy to write that for them because they haven't had to do anything. But then when you reach out to them,
you hunt them down.
Yeah. I mean,
okay, we have a new name for this. It is the Jogathon. We all grew up having to go raise money for every single lap that I'm going to lap around the lap. So
apparently I'm brilliant. So Jogathon.
Yes,
there you
hashtag Jogathon. So I'm going to recap, and we want to realize if this is what we want to stick with the three. It's going to show up in your blog later. So. Number 1, in the pre-stage smiley face, cyberstalk, other campaigns that are successful, as well as the influencers that we're supporting through hashtags. Number 2, build a bad beep team. Build a bad beep team. 3, a jogathon. If you don't realize by now, 3 is my favorite number. I am 3 from my numerology, and if you haven't done that, find somebody that does it. It'll blow your mind. Secondly, this is how we count. 1, 2, 3, many. And thirdly, listen to the first 2. Now on to are we cool with that? Is that a good starting point?
I've got one thing that it might be a precursor to all of this.
Okay, we can easily add a box beforehand.
Because this is really fundamental. If you don't have this, you absolutely positively will fail. Your product and your product narrative has to not suck.
Okay, so before the pregame, don't suck.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Okay.
A lot of things really do suck.
If you could please write that right over here.
So, yeah, like check with your friends, like, hey, is this idea not suck? Like, I don't know, kind of sucks, but maybe you could do this. Like, oh, thanks. Now it like sucks less.
Okay.
It's really an important thing.
All right, so step 1, suck less.
Yeah.
Step 2 has 3 steps, and that is cyberstock other platforms or other campaigns, build a badass team, and a jogathon. Now, in this pre-stage, what are the top 3 things not to do? Don't everybody jump at once.
So
Okay, no, that's pre-pre. That's pre-pre. We've already done. You can't make it to this stage without that. Okay.
you're ready. Go.
Well, wait a minute, does that mean that
Here we go.
launches that suck don't succeed?
No, not launches. He's saying products and services. Basically, before you're going to start a campaign, bounce the idea off of other people than yourself and your favorite stuffed animal.
That's a falsity because lots of things that succeed suck.
It's all relative, though. His point is go do some test validation on the concept and get a bare minimum threshold, right? The bare minimum threshold is I asked 100 people or 10 people, and not more than half of them said that this is a really sucky idea. We just want to save you from time. Now, if you talk to people and they all think it's a sucky idea, doesn't mean you can't crowdfund another idea or tweak it enough until you get people that are excited about it. And that's a really good point. Okay? So don't suck before you try to sell, but in the pre-sell process, we know what to do. Now, what do we not do?
To kind of play off of your response, don't think that your good idea is just going to sell itself. I've seen it a ton of times where people just think that they got the best idea, the coolest thing, and don't really have any like content calendars like prepared for the launch. They haven't allocated proper time. They have a full-time job and they just think that this is such a good idea that it'll just run itself. It's not the case.
I'm going to call that avoid the Midas syndrome. For those of you who remember Greek mythology, which was true at one point because everyone thought it was true, there's a gentleman that thought everything he touched would turn to gold, and it really worked against him. So be humble in that respect, and don't have the Midas syndrome. Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a slightly different shade, so I might be cheating a bit, but it's false assumptions in general. Making false assumptions that your influencers are going to really step up. I'm a big believer in taking advantage of everything that you have influence and control over. So that is your family and friends network. That is the social media page that you put up. So I guess the inverse of that is don't rely on other people to do the hard work for you. Don't assume that the influencers are going to do the hard work for you. My worst campaigns are with the A-list actors, always. Because all the creators think, well, William Shatner, I mean, it's a horror film and sci-fi with William Shatner. This is going to take care of itself. And then they launch, and it's like, apparently everyone loves to retweet William Shatner but not pull out their wallet. And so now they're working hard. So, I would say don't rely on other people that they're going to be the ones that carry this project.
So to the audience, is there enough of a definition to have 2 things there? One being, don't think that your product is all that, even if you've had some validation. The other shade is don't assume that these people who research are going to carry it. Do we like that as one?
Actually, one is the result, I think. One is the result, which is the product and the project, and the other one is the process. Mm-hmm. So I make the argument that they're 2 separate things.
I make the argument that it's one, because in both cases you're making assumptions that someone else is doing the heavy lifting. When it's
What'd you say?
Assumption is the mother of all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
What
All
he
right,
said.
then we'll
That's a good
make
quote.
it one.
So step number 1 is don't assume. And that means assume that your product is good, assume that your friends are going to help you out, assume that your alarm clock will work, assume nothing. Period. Is that good? Is that good for a number one?
Yeah.
Are we on agreement here?
Yeah,
for one?
sure.
All right, we got 2 more to go. Let's go.
So since we're kind of stretching this a little bit, people pile on paid advertising when the fundamentals of the narrative are not good, or the fundamentals of the creative are not good. And so when paid advertising comes into play, this might be the next stage though, I don't know. When paid advertising comes into play, it accelerates whatever else you have going on. So
I think that's definitely once we're launched.
next, yeah,
so
sure.
let's go back. We have 1, which is don't assume. What are 2 other things to not do in the pre-launch?
Yeah, to put a finer point on the assumptions, the reason why it seems like we're stuck here is because this is what kills all of our campaigns, is the assumptions. So we'll come up with 2 more, I promise.
So number 2 is just don't die.
yeah,
Just no, I think ignoring social media, ignoring the key elements that are going to come in, almost the inverse of the positive. Like, so when you know, not having a team, not having the key elements in place, not spending time prepping your social media. If you think that you're going to throw up a Facebook page and launch 2 weeks later, which so many people do, you're dead in the water. And then another thing that I see a lot, we'll find these too, right?
Yeah.
Is people will hire me and pay me a decent amount of money to do this job, and then they want my opinion, and then they'll send me their pitch video and their page the night before they launch. And it's in a completely different direction with none of the stuff that we went over. So let's see, how would we say that?
Listen.
yeah. No,
Be
Listen.
coachable.
Yeah. Be coachable.
Yeah.
Be coachable. That's good because you're saying hire somebody, but be coachable. Yes, you're biting the chomp. What do you want to say?
You're missing a really, really big one from a lot of the ones I've seen fail, which is they set their dollar raise amount at a ridiculous
price. It's
like
really
her.
something
Get
really
her up
important
here.
about price.
Actually, would you like to get up here? We have an extra seat. Come on, give a round of applause. We need somebody from the audience up here.
Yay.
You just
No, it's not good.
don't make me come down there.
It's a real.
How long is this cord? Okay, let's go back. Let's focus. The 3 things not to do in the pre-stage. Number 1, don't assume. Number 2, don't die. Number 3, don't
price?
price.
It's price.
Don't price incorrectly.
Yeah, because if you price too high, I mean, I've literally seen campaigns where we have had a great narrative. You drive 500,000 people to the page. They click through. They click that they're interested. They get to the last page where they're ready to literally put in their $800 thing, and the price it should have been priced at $500, and they priced it at $800, and conversion was nothing.
Yeah.
500,000 people and no conversion.
All right, so we've redone it. Instead, hold on. Let me recap where we're at. Number 1 is don't assume. I'm going to substitute don't die with coachability, if that's cool. Okay, be coachable. Say again? Don't die is also with the pre-sucky thing. Okay, so you have to be alive to run a campaign.
Yeah.
And you have to have a product that doesn't suck. But in the pre-stage, you cyberstalk, you build a team, you do a jogathon. But what you don't do is you don't assume, you don't be not coachable. I have to make it a double.
Be coachable.
Be coachable. But see, this is what not to do. So don't be not coachable. Okay?
We're going to do it.
Don't be difficult. No, because you can still be difficult and be a good client. You just have
Yeah,
to listen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't not listen. Don't not become coachable. You know what I'm saying?
You're using a lot of double negatives.
I know. That's a. Don't use double negatives. I love the energy. We're rocking out here. We know the concept is to be coachable, and that's
Oops.
opposite of what not to do. The third one is the price is right or wrong.
And let's make a deal.
Speaking of which, let's make a deal on to the next section, which means your deal goes live. What are the top 3 things you need to do when your deal goes live?
Make sure that all of your blogs and media contacts post when they say they will post.
Follow up with, so the people that are in the jogathon or the people that you're reaching out to, you're saying physically remind them or knock on their door?
Have you ever tried to get an Indiegogo not Indiegogo, a Instagram model to post 6 times on schedule?
People try to get me to do that all the time.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
You're in the bikini and you're like, man, you're so busy.
Yeah.
You have to
can.
make
It reminds you, and then you do it.
and you can make arrangements with the models and or their agency or influencer or their agency directly.
So what he's saying is that it's not scheduling posts, but it's how would we say this? Is this being an alarm clock or going and poking the different?
It's keeping your influencers accountable and your media accountable.
Okay. So be an accountant with your influencers.
Okay.
It's media. What is it? Production? How would you describe it?
Yeah.
So you launch.
Do you do this on your guys' campaigns?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a way to put it in concise terms. I feel like stick to the plan.
Yeah.
Stick to the plan. Have your influencers stick to the plan. If you've made a plan and you've reached out to your people and you have influencers who are connected, don't assume again that they're going to just follow through on that. You got to be the one driving the ship.
I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes I forget to press the play button. Whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm like, set it all up. I'm like, okay, that's good. And then I walk away, and all of a sudden I forgot to actually press play.
Yeah.
Happens with the microwave, happens with the hot water stuff. So I think what resonates with me is press play.
Yeah.
Like, get in there and press play for all the influencers and basically, like, say, it's go time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume that they know it's a go on Indiegogo. Number 1, press play. What's number 2?
Personalization.
This is in our second section once you've launched, because let's make a deal.
First 3 days.
First 3 days right here. This is the first 72 hours. First 72.
Personalization. I have a mantra I use on every single one of my calls, which is personalization equals money. So going back to the fact that you only have influence in the areas you have influence. You can't control whether a blogger picks up your thing. You can reach out to them and all that kind of stuff. That's where you have influence. But at the end, and Facebook somebody and text somebody and pick up the phone and call people and check in with your people's agents and all that kind of stuff. So don't press play and then take your hands off of it. Dive in, be personal. Personalization always equals money. How many times have you guys got a blind carbon copy "Hey Friends" email about a launch? Right? How annoying is that? I mean, it's no. Hey friends, I got this thing. It really means a lot to me. Please give. No one's going to give to that. Your conversion is going to be awful. Worst case scenario, they're your best friend and they might give you $10 because they feel weird not. Okay, no, we want personalization. When you directly email them or pick up the phone and call them or say, hey, remember I got your pledge from the launch party. The day has come. They're much more likely to give you $30 instead of 20. Well, that's a 50% increase. $50, $70 is the average. Now it's tenfold what they would have given you if they had given you anything with some blind carbon copy mass email where you copy and pasted your Gmail. That is the first sign to me that somebody doesn't know what they're doing, is when that happens on launch day. I get some mass email. So personalization equals money. Dive in, do the work yourself, and reach out to people directly.
Get dirty. Dive in. But I'm going to make it as a list with personalization because we're working on some serious alliterations. Number 1 is press play. Number 2 is personalization. So I challenge the group to come up with a third that starts with a P.
Personalization pops.
Well, yeah. Okay, we're stacking them up. But number 3, I'm also seeing if we can start with a P.
Persistence.
Yes!
Win!
Give him a round of applause.
Win! Yeah!
Did you just say win? That was awesome.
such a
win. All right, persistence. Explain persistence.
So I was going to say execution, but persistence starts with a P. We just spent like 2 months preparing for this day. So follow up with everything that we did for the...
We're homeless now, right? Because we spent 2 months doing this full time and have no income.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but you still kept your internet connection.
So time to start making some money, right? But with that, with any execution and any preparation that you make, maybe it's preparation, but know that it's not going to go full to like 100% to plan. So look at the back end, look at the analytics, see who's buying, see who's actually purchased. And if your ads are, maybe you thought your avatar was like 25 to 35, but it turns out like tweens are the one that are buying the crap out of whatever you're selling. Well, rewrite some of the ads, like make them more fun towards teens, like, and just keep studying like who's buying and who's like
Be persistent. Everyone together say persistent.
Persistent.
I kind of like did a half word there. Be persistent. And I'm just cutting this because for a time's sake we want to get through this. So for the first 72 hours, your top 3 things to do: press play, personalization pops, and persistence.
Make sure you have pixels on your advertising so that you can see where the data is and what your conversion rate is.
That's a bonus. That's a
Pixels.
bonus. So we have 3 steps and a bonus.
Pixels, tracking pixels, because you can't tell what's working and what's not unless you have the data to show what's working and what's not.
How many people have no idea what a pixel is?
That's
Okay,
why-
let me see if I can sum it up real
That's
quick.
why you hire a team.
It is a piece of code that you put onto the site that allows, well, how about this? You've all gone and bought something on Amazon for the next 3 months. That same ad or other things keep popping up. It's because they pixeled you. That means that you're able to track traffic to wherever they go, and you can deliver your ads to those people. You can also see metrics and measurements. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Similar.
similar to a cookie, just tastes a little different. It's not as sweet because it's invisible. Okay, so pixels, this is something you can Google and get lost in, but it is something you will get lost, and this is why, according to the pre-stage, when you have a team, this person can help.
I literally have a full-time guy on our team that manages all of our paid advertising, pixel tracking, and data analytics. It's a full-time position.
On to what not to do in the first 72 hours.
Send a blind carbon copy email that says, "Hey friends." In other words, don't try to automate the first.
So no BCC.
Yeah, don't try to automate that first 48 hours.
Number 2, what not to do. Because sometimes it's hard to think about, but it's almost as important to know what not to do so you avoid that failure.
Don't throw in the towel.
Yeah.
I mean, I have
don't
a
get
lot
discouraged,
of clients,
right?
particularly with don't get discouraged. Don't throw in the towel because it's now live. It's now organic. It now has a life of its own. So the moment you hit that launch button, it is a beast that you are trying to ride the back of, and don't hop off because things get weird. I've had people raise. One of my highest film raises was a project that in the first day they got a fraudulent donation of $27,100, and they looked funded, and all their friends started congratulating them as opposed to donating. They still ended up being successful, and I can't think of a much worse thing that could happen than that in your first hours. My campaign, I was working with a sponsor, physical sponsor, and we sent it in for approval, and they were like, "Great, approved, launched." And they launched us a day early at 9 p.m. I have all my people ready to go and all my influencers, and hey guys, and I'm wonky in the late afternoon nonsense. So don't give up. Don't give up early on when it goes live and it's organic and it freaks you out.
I've got one to add, and that's CTA, call to action. In this launch party with the Tampon Tribe, we literally stopped the comedy show in between and went, okay, now's the time to get out your phone. Here's the internet Wi-Fi password. Here's where you go. Step people through what to do. Don't assume that they know what to do, and have that specific call to action. You've got to ask for the close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually the rewards are set, and a lot of things on an Indiegogo or Kickstarter page are locked in. If you work with an agency, they'll have a contact at Indiegogo where they can go in and make changes. So that's another reason to work with an agency, and it gives you another level of service to the actual platforms themselves. That's another bonus, but it's not in that category.
We like the bonuses. 1, 2, 3 bonus. Now I'm going to review what we have here, and then we're going to open up for some questions, because these 4 squares, you will get more information when you contact them or read the blog that they'll flush out eventually. But we're going to keep it hot because these are the most important things. The most important thing is the first 60 to 90 days of your campaign. Number 1, to do, cyberstalk other campaigns that are successful, cyberstalk influencers of those campaigns. Number 2, build a kick-ass team with all of these things here which you know. 3, jogathon concept. Figure out with your family and friends and get them to commit ahead of time to what they will help you out with. What not to do, don't assume, don't be not coachable. In other words, be coachable. And the price is right or it's wrong, make sure you get it right. Once you launch, you have 3 things you need to make sure you do. Press the play button. Press everyone else's play button. Remind them because they might have forgotten since it's not their baby, it's your baby. Number 2, personalization pops. That means you need to put a personal element. You need to take 2 to 3 days off of work, and you need to sit behind a computer, lots of water, no recreational drugs, focus. Unless they help you be persistent. Unless they help you be persistent. Thank you. Be persistent, and basically the bonus part of the persistency is get pixels to be the most persistent little bugs ever that follow around everyone who contacts your site. Pixels are the most persistent pixels there are.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Then what not to do, do not BCC, do not give up or throw in the towel, have a specific call to action, and then the bonus was working, again, reinforcing working with a professional can help you make changes on the fly. For that, ladies and gentlemen, we're not done yet, but I still think that's worth a round of applause for the brain power here up on stage.
Yeah.
We have a couple minutes here. I'd like to take some questions. Yes, ma'am. Woo, hip, hip, hooray, hooray, hooray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jump into comments. Jump into engagement. Would you like to come and join the panel for the last 30 seconds? Okay.
So actually, she mentioned something. I think she said when you're live on Facebook or something like that. So Facebook Live is a new thing, and it goes to the top of all of your friends' timeline. So why don't you sit there in front of your computer and work on your campaign and talk about your campaign live for the first hour or two of the campaign? Or if you're at a launch party, send that on to Facebook Live.
All right, another question. Sorry.
A freebie for the middle section. Video thank you of the people that have donated to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another question.
Ryan, actually, I'm going to add on to what she was saying because it's something that I've actually done. I've had several successful campaigns. I've coached a lot of friends who their campaigns successfully. And one of the most important things you do is people thank people on Facebook, but the best thing you can do is thank them on their wall.
Yep. Yep.
So instead of on your wall saying, "Oh, thanks, Bob Smith, for donating," go to Bob Smith's wall, say, "Thanks so much for donating," and then put a link to your campaign there. Then all of his friends saw that he donated, and they will link to your campaign right there.
So putting these two together, what I have my clients do is make a thank you video. I usually have it be fun and self-deprecating, such as dancing or something like that. And they post a thank you video on that person's wall that thanks them with the link. And so Facebook loves video, so now it gets seen by all of their friends. You've now been able to post on their wall to their friends, which is a no-no unless you're thanking them. And who doesn't like to see people awkwardly dance and think, it's adorable, let me support
It's
this.
amazing.
Yeah.
If you heard my talk about bad dancers, think about the bad dancers on a dance floor at a wedding. It's contagious. It's viral. It's exciting because they don't care what's going on. Final comments, questions, so we end on time and I don't get in trouble. Yes, you, ma'am. Yes, you, sir. Ready, go.
I'd love you guys to talk about what you charge and what you offer for that.
Very short.
Totally.
What would somebody
Yeah.
expect?
So it's gonna vary a little bit just because there are so many elements that go into this. I'll speak for me. So if you're hiring somebody who's like a coach consultant, they're generally not getting dirty with their hands, and so it's usually a couple thousand, and then some on the back end. That's how I do mine. Some people do a lot on the front end with no back end. Nobody does zero up front and back end. When you call somebody and say, hey, I want you to work on my campaign for the next 3 to 5 months, but I don't want to pay you until the end of it, you'll have cranky people on the other end of that line. But it's usually a mix, a little bit up front, a little bit on the back end, or a lot on the front end.
Like a percentage of the raise?
Yeah, a percentage of the raise. And for, like I said, for a coach consultant, you're starting somewhere in that couple thousand range.
We're on the other side of that. I've got staff in an office and whatnot. We usually start somewhere around $20,000 per month. About half of that is like paid advertising, so that's going straight to Facebook. $4,000 to $6,000 for a video up front, and then creative collateral and campaign management after that.
Yep.
So basically they said, we're priceless. Right? Remember that the commercial with like da-da-da-da-da?
It pays for itself.
It does. It pays for itself.
Yeah.
I mean, this is free money.
Free money.
If you do it right, it's it's a marketing campaign that is cash flow positive. Like, that's awesome.
And in order to follow this, that is a key component. But don't be scared, because you can go do it on your own and fail miserably and then realize after the fact you should have done it, and then your second campaign is going to be more successful. Yes, sir.
Coolest
Final
color.
question in the back.
Kind of follows on what you just said. So, if, to someone like myself who's got a creative background, but giving it a go with a project and want to do the Kickstarter route in Go, what would be, like, I don't even thought you guys existed. I thought it was all case of like, you just put it on. So, what would be your top tip to someone like me who's got something that he thinks it doesn't suck and he's quite willing to put it out there?
Yeah.
But he's going to go do it by himself. What would be like your top positive tip?
I can answer that. Hire them.
Buy us both a nice dinner or a good cup of coffee, like Blue Bottle or better. What's that? Maybe, yeah. and then Tim Ferriss's template.
Yeah.
Like Tim Ferriss's template is literally gold. Like
In addition to this template,
yeah,
by the way.
we're going to turn this into a blog. Like every new product manager I hire, I'm like, here's Tim Ferriss's template. Start here. Like, go through it, learn it. Like, this is like he did a lot of really good work. Like, kudos to him.
All
Yeah.
right, so this wraps it up. Give your contact information, and then we're going to do a stage selfie, and then I'll tweet it out, and then you can get everybody's information that way as well.
Yeah.
Is this a question or a statement, sir?
It's a question about the template. Is there any way you can post
I will take a picture of this, and I will tweet it out along with the group selfie that we're going to do right now. Ryan Foland.
It's
At Ryan Foland.
At Adam Goyer.
Yep.
Same thing.
At Justin Giddings.
Okay, this is super cool. Ladies and gentlemen, clap as we get in position, and then you got to do something stupid for the photo. Clap. Now it's time to clap. Okay, you guys stand up with me.
How are we gonna do this?
You're going to stand up.
Never
You're gonna
done a
stand up.
stage
You
selfie.
guys stand up as well because you need to stretch.
Okay, got it.
Let's get a good crowdfunding look on your face like you're going to crush it. 1, 2, 3.